I told you guys in a previous video that I wasn't sure when the last time the timing belt was done on this car, but the previous owner told me that it was done. And if you look here, this has a Napa belt on it, so obviously the timing belt has been done at some point, but I don't know how many miles ago that was. So I actually went ahead and I got a new timing belt, a new balancer shaft belt, a brand new OEM water pump, which that is the most expensive part, and I'll show you guys the difference between that and the EVO 8 water pump, because there is a difference between the 9s and the 8s, and a brand new OEM tensioner, and hopefully that gets us through the next 60 or so thousand miles. It'll take me years to get on this car. So here is the difference. This is why the EVO 8s and 9s, this is where the difference lies between the two water pumps. On the EVO 8s, this is the alternator bracket, and they don't have that hole there for that bolt. So that's what makes these pumps so hard to get and so expensive, because the EVO 9 water pumps will run you anywhere between $250 and $300, you know, and for an OEM one. And I'm not sure about aftermarket manufacturers. I didn't even really look into it, because I've had experiences with, you know, O'Reilly, Advanced Auto Parts, just those chain auto parts stores. I've seen so many failures with those junky Chinese water pumps that I just decided to go OEM on this one, guys, because it takes so much to take it apart. You might as well just spend the money and put the correct stuff back in there, and then you won't have to worry about it. So I'm probably not going to do a whole tutorial video on how to do this. I'll probably just do like a time lapse, because if you go to Boosted Films channel, he has a video that there is no way I can touch it. He did such a good job with that, and actually I'm using his tutorial to change this. So I encourage you guys to go check him out. His videos are really well done. So his video is so good, I don't want to waste the time. I'd rather put the energy into something else he hasn't already done. Start off by taking this water pump pulley off. It's 10mm bolts. Next is a crankshaft pulley, and this is 12mm. To remove this tensioner right here, we have a 14mm right here, and then a 12mm in the back, and then this whole piece slides out. Last tensioner is a 14. Now we just have 8 10mm bolts. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, they are all different lengths. They're all different lengths too, so just keep track of where they came out of. Don't forget this one right here. All right, so now we're gonna remove this tensioner, and this is a 14mm, and this should give us slack in our belt. It definitely did. Pull out the tensioner, 2 12mm bolts. Hopefully it's easier than that pulley. Ooh. They seem like they were Loctited. Oh yeah, this is the original tensioner. Good thing we're changing it. Alright guys, so I just want to show you this real quick. So if you watch Boosted Films, his stuff just comes off magically, but in our case, that's not how it went. This big bolt right here, it is a 22mm. I got my buddy helping me out today. We had the earthquake, we heated it up, and we had our special tool that we made to hold the center pulley still, and the earthquake alone was not enough to get it. So what he thought of and what he did was he just threw a pipe wrench on top of it. So when I was blasting it with the earthquake, he was pushing down on the pipe wrench, and that's actually how we had to get it out. And so that bolt, it gets held on with what, 130 foot-pounds or something like that. Of course, the siren's going to be in the background now, so I'll probably just talk over this part of the video. And then this gear right here in Boosted Film, it just slides right off, but in our case, I had to use the slide hammer that I showed you guys in the transfer case removal video. basically the same technique, and I just pulled on it and it eventually came off. And what happened was there's some water that got in here and the rust was just holding this up, so we'll have to clean that up before we put it back on and put some grease on there. But I just want to show you guys that because in my case, even though this motor is pretty clean, it didn't just slide apart like it, in a perfect world. All right, so we got the crankshaft position sensor, 210 millimeters, and I don't believe that is actually going to come out of it, but we'll clean it up like Boosted Films did on his. That gets us out of the way, and now we can pull this piece of sheet metal out of here. This says 2G on it, so I wonder if it's from a 2G Eclipse. Who knows? For our last tensioner right here, that's going to be another 12 millimeter. And there you go. That is it. So pull this nasty old belt off of here. Alright, so we got our baluster shaft timing belt back on. Obviously you want to make sure you have your timing marks where they belong. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this tensioner back on here. Or at least start threading it on. Get that run down a little bit with the impact, and then we'll torque it. I don't know, what do you think, man? Alright, so now we got our tensioner back in and we're happy with the tension. This bolt right here gets tightened up to 14 foot-pounds, plus or minus 2. And since my foot-pound torque wrench doesn't go that low, I converted it over to inch-pounds, and that's 168. Now that we're all torqued down, take that timing cover plate, slide that over your keyway, and then you're going to want to go ahead and reattach your crankshaft position sensor or crankshaft speed sensor. Not sure which one it is. And those get tightened down to 78 inch-pounds. Double check. Alright, so we're ready to put the bottom pulley on. That was really hard to get off, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of engine oil. The manual tells you to put it on the bolt, and this will help prevent it being such a struggle next time we get it off. It also tells you to put oil on the threads of this before you put it on, which I don't know if the last person that had this car did that. Maybe that's why it was so hard to get back off, because it has a high torque. Alright, so we're ready to put our big bolt back on here, and this is our homemade wrench that we made today because I'm too cheap to buy the real one. And this bolt gets tightened down to 123 foot-pounds, so he's going to hold that, and I'm going to tighten it down. Just double check. Alright, so we're going to take the tensioner arm off, and then we're going to take the water pump off. Which I think that this tensioner, or the water pump, is newer, so I'm going to save it because they are so expensive. And then I will put the new one on, but save this one just in case someday we need another one. There's no OEM ones left in the supply system. So just remember, you got this bolt on the elevator bracket, and that's what separates these water pumps from the EVO 8s. Too much pressure on this. I think you're right. Ooh, that sucks. So, guess the engine wasn't completely. Oh, it's draining now. Good deal. That water pump was good. Like you said, like Matt the mechanic said, the O-ring is probably the only thing holding us up right now on the back of this water pump. Jeez, that's really on there. All right, cut! All right, so we have the surface cleaned up now. I just went ahead and just wiped everything down, cleaned it all up. Right here, this is, I forget what this thing is called. It's like a quota return line or something like that. It's just a tube that goes on the back of your block underneath the intake. There's an O-ring that comes off of that. I just picked it out with a screwdriver. And then to make it a little bit easier to put it on there, I'm gonna put some of this 3M stuff on there. And that'll actually help save the rubber. And it'll make it easier to slide it on there. Easy money. All right, so our memory card just ran out of video, so I'm gonna have to restate what I did. I just took the bolts out of the old filter and I put 2 of them in there, and I'm just gonna line this gasket up real quick. I literally just had it like this, and I'm just gonna tack 2 bolts on there. So now just take our 12mm, just kind of evenly pull these bolts down. Alright guys, so these bolts actually have all different torque values to them. So this one that goes in the side right there is 18 plus or minus 3 foot-pounds. These 2 long ones that go here are 17 plus or minus 2 foot-pounds. And then these 3 little ones in the back are 120 inch-pounds. I'm gonna torque them off camera, but I just want you guys to know what the torque value was for that. About to put the tensioner arm back on. I'm just gonna lube up the shaft a little bit, so it slides back and forth really well. And then, oops. I think it does. So. And that gets torqued down to 192 inch-pounds. It's like 16 or 17 feet-pounds. So now we got our tensioner, our auto tensioner in there. So go ahead and grab your earthquake and just blast those in there. I'm just kidding. It's actually 204 on both of them. Feels like it's so much tighter than what it probably actually is. Double check. Okay. So we're getting ready to put on the valve timing belt, and the manual first tells you to put this timing belt tensioner with the little holes there in that direction. That way I think it gives it clearance, so you can put it on there and get your tensioner set. By the way, I got the Extreme PSI kit, or belt installation kit off of eBay. It's $59, shipped to my house. It gives you this little 3D printed stopper to make sure that your cams don't move, and it comes with the little adapter to go in the timing belt tensioner. And if you were to reuse your tensioner, if you're just taking your belt off to do something with your head or something like that, they give you this special rod to push the tensioner down. Here is where we're at. We actually have the belt installed. So the book tells you to do is to actually use paper clips, but we didn't have any, and we didn't actually need this at all. But if you didn't have this block right here, which I bought to hold the cam still, what the book tells you to do is just use some clamps to hold the belt in place. And what you want to do is start on the inlet side, work your way down This part right here will be kind of in the middle here to where it's slack. And this is the part that really got tricky, getting the crankshaft alignment mark and the oil pump alignment mark to line up correctly. Me and Matt the mechanic had to mess around with that for like 20 minutes. We just had to slip the belt one tooth on each one a couple times, just kind of trial and error type stuff. But now we have it on there and the tension feels pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and look and see how you're supposed to properly tighten down this tensioner. I should have the torque wrench and everything that we need to do it. So we'll be back in a minute with that. All right guys, so we're gonna use this torsional torque wrench to hold this at 30 inch-pounds of pressure up against, and then Matt the mechanic is gonna tighten this down to 36 inch-pounds final torque. So he's gonna take it loose and I'll hold the pressure and then he'll tighten it up.
Pressure on it?
Yep.
Ready?
Yep. Loose. All right, go ahead. That's it. Pull the pin. I guess that's how it's supposed to go. All right, so it's telling us to rotate the crankshaft, the quarter turn, counterclockwise, and then rotate it back and then check the alignment marks. So we'll do about a quarter turn. Then rotate it back. Just double check and make sure all the timing marks are good, which it looks like everything is still lined up perfectly. And then it tells you to rotate the crankshaft 2 complete turns and then wait 15 minutes for whatever reason. We're not really sure why it tells you to do that, but so here's the dowel pin that I'm going to go off of. There's went a little bit beyond on its own. So now we'll wait 15 minutes. All right, got our timing belt on, so now we're gonna blast this cover on. All right, so we're putting this tensioner back on. The bigger one is 33, the smaller one is 18. I'm gonna use my big torque wrench on this one because I can actually get it set there and then I convert it over to inch-pounds for the smaller one because my bigger torque wrench doesn't go that low. Water pump pulley bolts are 78 inch-pounds. Oops. This other pulley right there, 59, wait, let me double check. Yeah, 59 foot-pounds. It's a pretty tight one. It's got a bigger bolt on it though. Pulley, each one of these bolts is 18 foot-pounds, or if your torque wrench doesn't go that low, 206 inch-pounds. So, ooh. All right, so the top bolt is 18 foot-pounds. And I converted that over to inch-pounds, and that's 204 inch-pounds. And then the bolt goes all the way through, and then there's a nut on the end, but you can't put a socket straight on. Technically, it's supposed to be 40 or 33 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna snug it down with this wrench and call it good. Not too worried about this coming loose.